You guys keeping up with the Olympics? All right. All right. I mean, they got off to a really rough start, didn't they? With the hotels in shambles, toilets not working, drapes on the floor. I mean, the athletes are getting compensated, though, because the Russian Olympic Committee is giving all the athletics free Royal Caribbean tickets for the rest of the year. I mean, it must be nice to win a gold medal at the Olympics. I mean, you guys ever hear of Leon Spinks? Leon Spinks? He won the gold medal in the 1976 Olympics. He loved that gold medal so much that he went out and had it bronzed. Brother Leon. I'll tell you. I don't know what else we got here. You know, I am missing my favorite television show on TV to be here tonight. You know, the one where they starve the animals and they make them fight with each other? America's Next Top Model? Oh, you guys are great, crowd. Give yourselves a round of applause. You guys are great. We're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to have a good time. You know what I hate? I hate annoying people that repeat themselves over and over again. Don't you? Everybody knows one of those kind of people that repeat themselves over and over again, right? This old lady at the hospital last week, we're going over health insurance. She goes, Mr. Saladino, we can't cover you because of your pre-existing injury. If it wasn't for your pre-existing injury and our pre-existing injury policy, we can cover you. But because of the pre-existing injury, now she must have said pre-existing injury like 16 times. So I wrote her out a check. About 3 days later, the same lady calls me up on the telephone. She goes, Mr. Saladino, the check you gave us is in an active checking account. I said, oh, that check must be from my pre-existing checking account. Today, and they got you by the you-know-what. I'm not going to say it because there's kids up in the front, but, you know, they got you by the you-know-what. As soon as you walk in, they want all these samples from your body. Am I right? I mean, as soon as you walk in, they want a blood sample, they want a urine sample, they want a stool sample, they want a sperm sample. I just give them my underwear. Help yourself. I'll tell you. All right. I'm a bit of a prankster. Let me tell you about this prank that I pulled on the Cape Coral Hospital nurse. You ever play a prank on somebody and the prank goes too far and somebody gets hurt? Well, I had this nurse at the hospital faint and I can't go back to the hospital again. True story. Let me tell you how it happened. I was having some knee surgery at the Cape Coral Hospital a couple of years ago, and I had this nurse. And this nurse was an old nurse that just by the book, if she cracked a smile, her face would crack. I said, I gotta play a prank on her. She was like the Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She was terrible. So on my last day of my stay, I said, I want to play a prank on her, but good, get her good. She comes in, she goes, Mr. Saladino, if you want to go home, you have to take one more urine test before you go. I said, okay, fine. So she leaves the cup next to my bed. And next to my bed, there was a bunch of juices. There was apple juice, orange juice, and the apple juice looks just like pee. So I took the apple juice and I poured it into the urine sample. She comes into the room, she picks up the cup, she goes, hi, Mr. Saladino, we look a little cloudy today. So I took the cup for her, I said, well, let me run it through again. And I drank it, right? Very funny. Are you guys ready for your... You know, when I got involved with comedy, people always come up to me and say, Gio, now that you're involved in comedy, what do you talk about when you get up there? And I always say, listen, you got to talk about your most embarrassing moments and make fun of them. You have to. I mean, you know, everybody remembers their most embarrassing moments of their life. You don't forget them. I don't care how far back you go, you remember your most embarrassing moments. I remember way back when I was a kid. Remember you used to have sleepovers when you were a kid? And you slept over your friend's house and your friend slept over your house? Well, I remember it was a Friday night and I slept over at my friend's house one night. And I guess I was nervous and I accidentally peed the bed. I remember driving home saying to myself, I can't believe that. My buddy's wife had to come in and change the sheets. Talking about, don't worry, it happens.
Don't worry, it happens.
I'm not very handy. I'm not very mechanically inclined. Cars, that's a good one, I know. Cars, I don't know anything about cars. I mean, when they stop running, they're broke. That's it. Especially when it's embarrassing when you're out on a date. I remember I was on a date one time taking this chick out to a movie, and sure enough, make a long story short, we're stuck on the side of the road, and I do what everybody else does. Get out of the car, lift up the hood, and look at the engine like I know what I'm looking at, right? I have no idea. Finally, she sticks her head out the window, she goes, Gio, what are you looking at? We got a flat tire. I'll tell you. Now I just stay home and do jigsaw puzzles like I'm very proud of myself. You know, you ever start a jigsaw puzzle and never finish it? Yesterday. Last Tuesday, I swear to you, I finished my very first jigsaw puzzle. Can I get a round of applause for that? I finished it. It took me 9 months to put this puzzle together. 9 months. But I'm way ahead of schedule because the front of the puzzle box is 2 to 4 years. So, I went to the flea market last week and I bought the original axe that George Washington used to chop down. Can I please tell my jokes? I went to the flea market last week and I bought the original axe that George Washington used to chop down the cherry tree. I got the certificate of authenticity. The only 2 things that's been replaced on it is the handle and the blade. Other than that, it's all original. We got any New Yorkers in here tonight? New Yorkers? Yeah? Forget about it. Right? You can always tell somebody if they're from New York if they say forget about it. That was my Uncle Freddie's favorite expression, forget about it. Forget about it, forget about it. That's what we used to call him. Uncle Fred, forget about it, Freddie. He's 89 years old now. He's got Alzheimer's. Now he walks around saying, forget about what? You gotta be from New York to say forget about it, because if you're not from New York, it just comes out wrong. It doesn't come out right. Right? Like the Indian people that own this Lucky 7 on the Kickball Parkway, where I get my rolling papers. Do we got any Indian people in here? Good, fuck them. So I get my rolling papers there, and I said, how's the chicken here? He goes, the chicken is very good here. You have to try the chicken. You know how they talk like that, right? So I tried the chicken was good. He goes, how did you like the chicken? I said, Ahmed, forget about it. He goes, I do not understand. I said, Ahmed, when somebody comes in and asks how the chicken is, you say, forget about it. That's America. You're in America now. I said, well, practice. Pretend I'm a customer. I walk in, I said, how's the chicken? He looks at me dead in the eye, he goes, forget about it? I said, don't say it like that, they're going to call the cops on your ass. They look at you like that guy from that show. What you talking about, Willis? What was the name of that show? What you talking about, Willis? Different Strokes. I used to love that guy. I loved that little kid. You know, he died, that little kid? Yeah, I was so sad when he died. He died from multiple aneurysms. It's kind of like Different Strokes. I know. Anybody ever get their asses kicked by their parents when they were kids? If they had the laws, if they had the laws today that they had back then when I was growing up, my father would be serving like 7 life sentences in a row. With no chance of parole. My dad used to hit me anywhere. It didn't matter where we were, he used to give me a beating. My dad gave me a beating in church one time. In church! I mean, who does that? I mean, we didn't go to church every Sunday, but my father saying Jesus being Italian, we should go to church. You know? All that Jesus wasn't Italian. Look what they drank, wine. Look what they ate, bread. All the apostles were Italian. Look at their names. Petey, Paulie, Johnny. That was the original mafioso right there. I mean, if Jesus was alive today, things would be totally different. I can just imagine John the Baptist tapping Jesus on the shoulder after a long day, saying, Jesus, my Lord, we must get some rest. Tomorrow we got a long day of walking the land and spreading the word. Jesus will look at him and say, why walk? We'll take the caddy.